Hey, everybody. Welcome to Friends in Recovery Podcast.com. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, and I'm here today with
Jersey Egg guys in Studio G. How's everything going, Podfather, up there?
very good, very good. Nice
Good.
fall day, and going to get a nice show going today. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I just want to give a quick teaser, I guess, that we have Eric H today. He's a grateful recovering alcoholic, and we're going to bring him on in a minute. He's also a police officer out in Minnesota, and we're going to get to learn more about him. But real quick, guys, if you want to give us a call, have any questions for the Podfather, or want to ask him about what's back there in his office and all on those great plaques there, you can call us at 617-379-1163, or call us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. That's help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. And Podfather, just a reminder to all our friends in recovery, we have the 12-step online meetings going on right now every day, 7 days a week, noon and 7 p.m. So please check that out. Just go to one of our Facebook pages. Just go to Facebook and Google Friends in Recovery, and we should pop up. So Podfather, you're up there in your office. How's things going today? How's the life of the Podfather?
Well, the Podfather is busy today. Monday and Tuesday are my busy days. I work at a facility called Crossroads up in Salem, New Hampshire, and it's an IOP facility. We do a lot of group therapy at night. I run two groups. I run one Monday night from 5:30 until 7:30, and same Tuesday night. Tuesday night, though, we break it up. We have a step meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step meeting from
Nice.
5:30 to 6:30, and we get about between 10 and 17 clients that come weekly. So it's
Nice.
good.
Good. Well,
How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm smoking a cigar here in Studio G.
Yeah.
I have some big plans for Studio G. I might be building a little studio
Yep.
because if you guys seen where I was at, it's a garage, but I have this beautiful backing here to make it look like I'm not in a garage. But with COVID coming on and kicking up again, Podfather, we're gonna be working more and more from home. Me, anyways. So I don't
can't
have
go to my office. So.
you're lucky you have an office, and I don't have a really big house where I can, but you know what? That's part of recovery, and that's part of, going with the flow, and everything isn't always the same all the time, and
You gotta adjust. You gotta adjust,
exactly. We got to adjust. And speaking of adjusting, we have a very good adjuster here that's going to come on our show, Eric H. He's a recovering alcoholic, and he is a police officer. He's also an alumni of Hazleton, their 12-step program. He's been clean for 13 plus years. He's been a police officer for 20 plus years. And Eric, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Eric.
Thanks, guys. Welcome. Yes, it's great to be on.
It doesn't seem like we just did this, guys.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe a little bit.
all that experience that we have, that we've been so many podcasts. But Eric, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously you're on this show for a reason. This isn't about butterflies and pancakes. So
Sure. Yeah, I've known you, Ed, for a few years now. And like the bio said, I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. And I really attribute my career and everything, family, wife, everything that's more important than a career, maybe, to my recovery. I obviously I wouldn't be here today on this podcast, or I probably wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for recovery from alcoholism.
Amen to that.
Really nice. It's nice hearing you say that. I've been retired 5.5 years from the Lowell Police Department. I worked patrol for 28, and for the last 8 years, I was the EAP. And I was sober 5 years into my career. I got sober, and I was lucky to make a 35-year career. The 30 years I finished, being sober. It was just a testament as to, what was in store for me and helping other cops get sober. When I got sober, Eric, there wasn't a lot of alternatives. You know, there weren't meetings, there weren't badge meetings, there weren't a lot of things. But I did find some help down in Boston. Boston PD had a program run by a guy named Eddie Donovan, and I did find that. How about you, Eric? When you decided to get sober, you'd been on the force for several years. Was it something you decided on your own? Were you forced into doing it or asked to do it?
No, that's interesting. I wouldn't say I was forced. You know, it was more like, you know, like you, Podfather. Mine, I would say 5 to 7 years in. But it was getting to the point where I needed to drink more and more all the time. So my career would have ended, you know, and it seems like it can just take just a tailspin and it's over with in a blink.
Right.
So I would say, God, I don't want to say force, but yeah, kind of. I think we had talked about this before, but once all of the facts were laid out in front of me by my wife and a counselor, it was like it hit me that I was just tired of being an alcoholic anymore. I didn't have the energy to even do it anymore. Something had to change.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
Staying anesthetized, 12 hours.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's your whole life. But to touch on the resources, I tell you what, and I think it is maybe different than when you went through it, the getting sober part. And what I say by different now is we can all complain about our employers, right? But
right.
In Minneapolis, they're really good about helping their employees get better, because really any employer, I mean, what's the goal? Is a healthy employee, right?
Mm.
That's a productive employee.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of what else is involved in that is that it seems like we have a group of people. I'll just say in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities area, because I've worked with cops from other agencies. It's like there's enough of us now,
right,
that are willing to tell our stories. And then I think alcoholism is such a disease that it gets you alone, right? And you're never going to get better if you're alone, or if you think that you're the only one going through it. So the more people we have talking about it and are willing to share their stories, the better it's getting for everyone.
Yeah, Eric, I got a question. When you first got sober, of course, you went to a world-renowned program in Hazleton. I mean, that's the literature. I mean, that's just the word you say, Hazleton, and all you think is recovery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Did you go to open meetings like AA meetings? Where people might have known who you were or what you did, or did you just go to specific meetings where you were isolated as far as incognito? Nobody actually knew that you were a cop, or did it matter to you?
At first, I wasn't as open about it, only because I guess I didn't know what to expect.
Sure.
But it was funny how at treatment, when people are getting sober, it's like the last thing they care about is what you did
right
outside of the treatment realm. But since I've kind of, I would say it was a mix of where I was more just anonymous, and then there were others where I went to meetings with other people, and I'll say it was police and fire, some of the meetings I went to. So boy, something that kind of helped me, and I've talked about this before, is that it's almost sometimes if you're in a larger group, you don't focus just on, how did this affect me because of who I am. It helped me just look at it like, hey, I'm an alcoholic addict just like anybody else, right?
It's so true, and it's funny how the career, the job, being a police officer, in the beginning, it's what we think about, but then when we start getting well, it's the last thing we're thinking of. We're just
Exactly.
regular people, right?
Exactly, and it was like I almost wanted to use it as a convenient excuse, and that I think I would enable myself, like, you know, when I look back now earlier on, I'd say, oh, well, I'm so much different. I have to see things that are different than others. So therefore, that's why I'm hiding in my basement drinking a bottle of vodka, you know.
Right.
But once you start to see, no, this is a disease, and that's why I'm drinking that bottle of vodka.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like what you said, Eric. Convenient excuse. You want to elaborate? You want to elaborate? Make what a convenient excuse is. I mean, we know them all, but you know, where were you in your head at that point? You know, a convenient excuse, sitting in the basement or whatever it is.
Where I was in my head is that I was different. I wasn't like any of the alcoholics or addicts that I saw every day on the job, right? I had to be different than that because I had put them in a different category, almost like those people, right? They can't get their wait a minute, I can swear on this, right?
Yeah. Well,
they can't get their they can't get their S together, right?
You could say shit. They say
okay, perfect. So hey, you know that group can't get their shit together, but you know I'm somehow different. So I would kind of like make the rules different for myself. So if I sat in the basement and was on a weekend bender, it's because I need to deal with what I see. You know, I got to get my head right. Somehow that was getting my head right. And even to go back a little further, it was like the rules kept changing for me. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, the convenient excuses. Like I just drink beer. That's all cops do this, right? And then I had to change those rules because beer wasn't doing it for me. And I was drinking vodka, you know. And so it was basically just justifying it, but I could still convince myself that I wasn't somehow an alcoholic, right?
Yeah, we can convince ourselves that we're unique. We're in a unique position.
Well, you know, I can even see police officers, Podfather, like you said, in unique position. I'm not like those people. We help those people out, and being two police officers on the panel here, you know, I think that's you know, like that could be a huge excuse, you know, and you know, I'm not like those people because I have a job, I have a badge, I have a gun. I'm not those people. And Podfather, what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, you know, reality hit me in the head when I was in a meeting and I saw people that men that were living outside, basically homeless. They chose not to live in the shelter because it was a dry shelter. And they were in meetings and they were having coffee and some of them were speaking. And I had seen them when I was on patrol. I'd see them on Sundays all huddled in an alley, splitting a bottle of port wine or something, or Listerine. I mean, I saw people drinking stuff that, you know, we would never even think of drinking. So I always didn't think I was that bad, you know. And with me, it was also drugs too. Drugs played a big part of me getting help. Cocaine, you know, and other drugs. But, you know, it just, booze just wasn't doing it for me enough. I needed more. I needed to go to a higher plane, so to speak. But I heard a woman from the podium speaking one night, and she told my story, and she was about 70 years old. And everything she said, I could relate to. It was amazing, you know, just how she was brought up, when she drank, how she hid it. She had a job. She was an executive for a big firm, and people came to her, and she was outgoing, and she was generous, and she was a people pleaser, and that was me. You know, she told my story, but we didn't look anything alike. You know, and then I had a great sponsor too, and I still do. I have the same sponsor, but my sponsor then, he was very active with me, you know, and he opened my eyes a lot to exactly who I was, why I was sitting in those halls, and if I wanted to keep the sobriety that I got, because once I got 30, 60, 90 days, I was feeling so much better than I had been feeling. My personal life wasn't good at all. Eric, I don't know how much you lost or if you almost lost your job. I mean, I was close. I was suspended for 17 months. I got back pay. I ended up getting all that back. But that suspension for 17 months and not knowing if I was going to be able to put a uniform back on again really concerned me in the beginning. But as I continued with my sobriety, I didn't really care. I was just so happy that I was finally me. I had me back again, you know?
And that's so true, getting you back. And Eric, we're going to take a quick break here. I want to answer to that question if you can. And this grateful recovering alcoholic, I want to know a little bit about that. Like, people are probably listening saying, how can I be grateful? People who are, are just getting to this. How can this guy be grateful? How can this guy be, happy? You know what I mean? And I want you to touch a little bit about that and all the good stuff in recovery. So Podfather, you want to take us out real quick?
Sure. This is friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. We'll be right back.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first. That connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery. Welcome back to the Friends in Recovery Addiction Recovery Podcast. We want to thank our sponsor, Genesis House, for supporting this show, along with individuals in recovery and the people that love them.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. I am the Podfather. I'm here with
Jersey Egg guys in Studio G. Where are you at, Podfather? What studio?
I'm in Studio C in Chelmsford, Massachusetts. And,
Studio C.
Yeah, so this is Studio C.
Looks good. I should come up there and record with you again.
Yeah,
Podfather, I had fun in those episodes. If you guys look back a couple episodes that we did, we did one episode ATC, so you just tune over to the other channel. But we also did FIR from the car. How much fun was that?
That was awesome.
That was cool, right, Eric? When we come up to Minnesota, we're going to do FIR from the car. I'm going to bring Podfather up with us. So we're going to do FIR from the car. But real quick, I want to talk about SoberPod, guys. SoberPod, and those guys love us. The last show I listened to, they really gave us a good plug. Friends in Recovery. They even plug our 12-step meetings, Podfather. You listen, you hear what Carl talks about, and
great show.
Yeah, it is a great show. So
people,
on top of the tattoo that I have and my love letters to Carl, and that Podfather thinks whatever, but but it is a good show. Carl, Ellen, Steve, and Chelsea. They do a really good show. So turn your dial a little to the right, never to the left, always to the right.
Go with that.
And make sure you listen to SoberPod, guys. And we have Eric H. from Minneapolis Police Department. He's a grateful recovering alcoholic. And before the break, Eric, Podfather asked did you lose anything? Did you gain anything back? What was like the process that you went through after you got into recovery? And this grateful alcoholic stuff, people might be scratching their head saying, how can somebody be grateful by giving up their booze,
All right, we'll start with, did I lose anything? I was able to take a medical leave. So, but how honest was I, with my psychologist? We'll just kind of leave it at that. I sure as heck wasn't ready to admit I was an alcoholic, but it was getting to the point where I would have been up to drinking on duty, and I just wasn't going to do that because of the consequences involved. More out of fear than anything. So I went on a medical leave, but as I almost fell over when I was listening to the Podfather, because my story is so much the same. So then I get sober, and then, I didn't know. I had been gone for a couple of years on a medical leave, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to go back. But in the time that I got sober, I got a job just kind of in a warehouse doing some light industrial stuff. And I was to the point where if I can't go back, it doesn't matter because my life had changed so much. And that's what the Podfather was talking about. It's crazy how much you can relate to other people when you're honest about your addiction. So to the point that, so I had to kind of go through the whole battery of tests again. And I remember when I did my psychological again, obviously, well, I'd never been this honest before, but I remember wanting to present as honestly as I could. And not that I was dishonest before, but I think we tend to try to present in the best light, right? When we're trying to get a job. I wanted almost, if I wasn't right, or if this job wasn't right for me, I wanted a psychologist to tell me that, because then, right, if it's not right for me, that's just another way that I can slip back into using. So it's just, like I say, it's crazy when you listen to other alcoholics, addicts. You know, if I could sum treatment up, it's basically like you get to relate to other people, and it gets you away from how your addiction's different and how it's okay for you, right? All of this stuff is right in your face, and you need that to get better. So,
boy, that's true words were never spoken. You know, if anybody out there that's either new or they're just coming around and they just happen to stumble upon this podcast, you know, I really believe if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I was 32 years old. I was in the prime. I had won awards. I had done, you know, I was being looked at as a really viable, you know, good cop, you know, and that's all I ever wanted to be since I was a kid, you know, was a policeman. And you know, I was pleased with who I was when I was at work, or when people were, you know, telling me or giving me an award. You know, I felt, well, I was humble about it, but I was inside, I was going 100 miles an hour. But then, you know, when I was by myself, I would be disgusted with myself. I had no, couldn't even look in the mirror sometimes, you know. I mean, my uniform was always neat as a pin. I was in the Army, so I always had that. But what was going on in my head was awful. But when I got sober, even though I didn't have a uniform, my name had been in the paper, because I live in it's a big city, but it's kind of a small city, you know. They have a local newspaper. People knew that I had a problem, you know, and it was in the paper many times, the local newspaper. But I didn't care. I was so happy to get up in the morning and do my, you know, get on my knees, ask for help, go to a meeting. I was going to 2 meetings a day back then because I had nothing but time. I did have a part-time job working for a carpenter, but you know, it's just I was in a good spot. And just real quick, that psychological test, I had to take one before I went back as well. And the same thing, Eric, just what you said. I was diligently honest. I wanted to make sure that I said the right thing, because I figured, hey, maybe I wasn't cut out to do this as much as
that's exactly, that was my thinking. Like, and I don't want to get back into that trap if this isn't for me. Yeah.
Well, can I ask you guys a question about that? Do you think that might have been a reservation that you can go back out and drink again, because you guys are so wrapped up in your career? You were so okay with, you know, with maybe somebody telling me not this is not my career, that might have been a reservation to go back to drink.
For me, no. I mean, I just remember vividly, for me, no, because I had never felt so free in my life.
Okay.
Right. Because once I was free from that addiction, I didn't want anything to do with having to go back to that owning me. So I can say for me, no, I'd never, and maybe I was thinking so clearly, and I still am, but I just remember that.
Same here. I can remember I put on some weight, considerable weight, probably 15, 20 pounds. And I knew I was going back to work, and I would walk every night. I'd walk 3 miles, jog, you know. I mean, I was dieting and everything. And my wife worked during the day, and she'd have to pick up our son, who was in a daycare. And I knew this time of the year, it was getting dark early, and I was so excited about making dinner and when they would come home, and, you know, and I thought, when I go back to work, I worked early nights. I said, you know, 4 to 12, I'm not going to be able to do this, you know. But never did I think about, well, if I don't go back to being a cop, then it opens the door to drinking.
Good.
I mean, I'm fortunate. I have 34 years of continued sobriety, which I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying there's not a lot of people I know that can say that. You know, you have 13 years. Ed has almost 30 years or 30 years. You know, I mean, we're a unique group, and as you know, because we've been in the halls, we've listened, you know, and we've seen tragedies and stuff. But I've always wanted just to maintain that sobriety, and I did. You know, they say, will you go to any lengths to get sober? Are you willing to go to any lengths? Well, I think we all were, and I think we all did. And that's why we're sitting here today doing what we're doing to help people.
I think we still do, actually, Podfather. We still do go to any lengths. I mean, you know, we're here in the middle of the day recording a podcast. I had to grab Eric off off of his training, whatever he was doing to do this. So we're going to any lengths. We don't have to do this. Podfather, you always say we don't get paid for doing this. This is just something that we do out of our heart. Same thing with Eric. Eric, don't expect a check. Nothing's coming. We don't have a budget.
Maybe a t-shirt, Eric. Maybe
a t-shirt, but that's about it. But this is the part that I wanted. I know the answer to, but the grateful alcoholic. Talk about that. Grateful recovering alcoholic, because there might be some people that don't understand that just yet, newly into recovery. Us old timers know what it is. Yes, Eric, you are an old timer. Anything past 10 years, I consider old timer. But but doesn't mean that we can't learn every day. But what's this grateful stuff? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll go back to when I was in treatment every evening, 7 o'clock, we'd have a speaker would come in, and same thing like this. They would come back on their own time. Right. And they were the happiest people, and to the point where I'd get pissed off at first. Like, what are they so happy about? And a couple times it was both times that I really remember were male speakers, really put together, had everything going for them, some good continued sobriety. And they would say, I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. And I remember it angered me, like, what the, come on, because I'm still thinking, not even like I've already now skipped over how bad my addiction was. I'm still thinking, like, I want to go back to that beginning part where it was great, and you're out at the bars and you're doing those sorts of things. I'm like, and you can't do that anymore. How are you grateful? Well, then, time goes by and you get it, and things start to look up in treatment. And then, I also lived in a halfway house for a few months after. Wow. And one day it hit me. I was walking home from a meeting, and I had no reason to be, here I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm thinking I've destroyed my whole life. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I'm happy. And it was like, I just felt free. And it hit me what grateful meant. It's because I have my life back. I have my freedom. The addiction, the 24 hours a day of how am I going to use was all gone. Like it was, that to me was my spiritual experience. And that's what I'm grateful for. And then I come to realize everything I have now is because of that sobriety.
Freedom. You got freedom.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about freedom. Yeah. Talk about freedom.
So freedom from addiction. I mean, I was drinking, nonstop. I mean, before I got sober, I was to the point where I was get up in the morning. It was the first thing I had to do. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to do that anymore. I didn't have to plan. I didn't have to, to addiction is basically lying and manipulation along with addiction. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can just be myself. Oh. And here it was a Saturday night, and I didn't live in the nicest, the halfway house wasn't what a superficial person would say, oh, that's a great place to live. But none of that mattered, because I was sober.
I've been in Duluth in the middle of the wintertime. It ain't a great place to be.
No, and it's all hills.
The shirt I have on is made by Duluth, the manufacturer. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I heard it years ago, a grateful heart will never drink. And I used to hear people get up to the podium and say, hey, my name is Joe. I'm a grateful alcoholic. I'm Mary. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And, I am, today I'm the same. I am a grateful
Yes.
alcoholic. I wouldn't change one thing about my life where I am today. And it's not perfect. I mean, I've had tragedies, deaths, suicides. I went into this field. I got my education to be a therapist, so I'd have some credentials when I retired. And, I see a lot of sad stuff. I go to wakes. I just went to a client's wakes Friday. He died by natural causes, but still. Mm-hmm. But I really do believe what I heard from the podium from people that they were on disability. Some of them, one guy had a stroke, and he wheeled himself up to the podium, and they brought the mic down to his lap, and he said he was a grateful recovering alcoholic. And it's really amazing that it's almost like you're out of jail. When you get your freedom back, you can make your own decisions. You can do what you want to do. You don't have to chase that booze and drugs. And Eddie, you chased drugs for a while. That is that's the most horrible place to be. It just takes its toll.
Eric, we have to close here in a couple minutes.
Sure.
But just anybody out there, any advice, especially your fellow brothers and sisters out there, and the everyday alcoholic, anything for them before you close? Is there anything that you want to add to what you said? Because it was all amazing stuff that you just spoke about. But
well, yeah, it's the whole thing is if you're starting to think there might be an issue, find someone to talk to, and there's enough of us out there that'll talk, right? And you don't even have to say so much at first, but just listen to other people's stories, because you'll start to be able to relate. And I keep using that term, but it's the same idea with treatment. Treatment isn't some, we all have this idea of it. It's a place where you can finally not feel alone anymore, and you can hear how much similar people are to you, and that you can have what they have too, if you're willing to work for it.
So true. Eric H. from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you so much. Look for Eric on another show. Turn the dial to the right again. Look for the other show. He'll be on soon. But Podfather, Eric, what did you think of him? I mean, amazing, right? I mean, he's you in the younger version, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably better looking too.
No, let's not go that far.
No, Eddie, great guest. It's so good. I mean, we speak the language. It's when I was in the Army, I was over in Germany, and when I first got there, it was difficult because it was a whole different country, and unless you stayed within your little confined, which we didn't want to do. We went out and about, and then I learned to understand a little German, and then I learned to speak a little German, and then all of a sudden, I was communicating. It was a lot better, and it's the same thing with being sober. I didn't know why I couldn't put down booze and drugs. I didn't know why I was dumping it down the sink at 3 a.m. and then buying it at 10 a.m. I didn't know why I was throwing drugs out the window and then going back looking for them, because I thought it was out of my mind. I didn't know anything about addiction. But when you do find a way out, and you follow that path, and then all of a sudden you get your freedom back and you get your mind back. Threefold disease: mental, physical, spiritual. Addiction is a threefold disease. And when you get your physical being back and your mental being back, but when you get your spiritual, and I'm not talking religion, I'm talking that soul that we all have, when that is at peace, and you can look in the mirror and you kind of like the person that's there. You're not doing bad things. You're not disappointing. You're not lying. You're not stealing, because that's not what you wanted to do in the first place. But that's what addiction does to you. So.
Yeah, and that's so true, Podfather. Just, I never thought of it that way. I've been doing this for not 30 years. I'm 26 years, but I never thought of it that way. That's finally, you can accept things at that point. You can go into a different mode at that point, and life is much better to accept everything at that point. So, yeah, Podfather, another great show. Thank you so much.
Guest. Yep,
absolutely.
Eric was great, and
Eric was.
Look forward to having him on the show again.
Absolutely, Podfather.
Yep, friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.
Stay sober, everybody.